Well, hello, we're going to be looking in forward talks at innovation and technology. And we've got a great group here with us at the MEBAA show in Dubai, where business aviation is really happening and all of the new technologies are being discussed, some more than others. Let me just introduce you very quickly to the panel we've got here. And I'll start with you, Adam. Tell us who you are.
Well, hello, good morning. Adam Twidell from the Flexjet group. We're a wide selection of brands, and we cover all of the bases of how somebody could fly by private jet. And that's from fractional ownership with Flexjet, both in the USA and in Europe. Sentient and Private Fly, which sell jet cards, 25-hour jet cards. FX Air and Private Fly, which is premium on demand. So we're covering all of the bases, but what's really exciting now is we're looking to the future and electric aircraft.
And that's the technology we will come to. So Robert PLHAK, tell us what you're about.
Thank you and good afternoon. I'm Robert from WOO Flights. We are the first B2B marketplace for private jet charters, where you can search, book, pay and manage private jet flights, which is a revolution and an innovation in this market. Furthermore, we implement with a loyalty program, a rewards program, also cryptocurrencies with payment transactions that we do with when charter flights are booked on our platform.
Fantastic. Captain Oberoi, you're, if you like, the local representative as well for the flying area.
Hello, MEBAA in Dubai. It's good to be in this discussion with you guys. Falcon is one of the largest operator of helicopters and business jets here. And we already have announced our intentions to go for technology. We are introducing here a beautiful model of EVEX design, which we have promised to introduce in 2026 from Atlantis. So we are heavily into innovation, and we are proud that Dubai takes that initiative under UAE government's initiatives to introduce these technologies.
Okay, and James, with you.
Thanks for having me. My name is James. I'm the operations director at UAS, which is a trip support company based in Dubai from about 20 years. And with regards to technology, I mean, within the aviation industry, as we all know, if you're not innovating, you're being left behind. You cannot remain stagnant. So internally, what we're doing now is we're looking at a series of technological platforms that are going to really have a big benefit for the customer, and we'll be rolling that out soon, and that will, in our view, revolutionize the trip support experience for our customers.
Okay, so shall we start with looking at the big question, almost in my view, the big elephant in the room sometimes. These new aircraft, the eVTOLs, the hybrid aircraft, all of these things. And I was just saying to somebody before we started doing this, I used to watch the old Stepson's things with the flying cars in the 1960s, and it was going to happen. We would have it by the 70s, no, the 80s, oh, maybe the 90s. Oh, by 2010, we might be able to have air taxis. By 2024, we might be able to have air taxis. And Captain Oberoi, you've already ordered some. Are they orders that are real orders, or are they just on paper to give some encouragement to the people selling?
Yeah, so, I mean, we are closer to those goals than we were, say, 20 years back. And I think the technology in this sector is growing in much faster pace. Basically, the battery densities have grown a lot, the electrical motors have grown a lot. So we are closer to reality than we were, say, 50 years back or 10 years back. The concepts existed, but now they seem to be that there are chances that this will become real. A lot of prototypes are already flying. EVs are already in place. So eVTOLs are a next step. So I think this would happen this time. So we are saying 2026. Well, it's probably yes. Okay.
And Adam, you've actually ordered some as well, haven't you? Flexjet's got an interest in the same model.
Yeah, through our brand Halo Aviation, we've ordered 200 Eves from Embraer. A lot of people ask me why we ordered the Eve. Well, my name's Adam. So it was a great partnership. No, we went with the Eve.
Just giving me a headline, you realise.
We went with the Eve, and this touches on your point. The Eve's a very simple aircraft design, and one of the big hurdles the new OEMs have got is getting through certification. So you're absolutely right. These aircraft are flying now. This isn't something which is happening over the horizon. This is happening today. And if we look to companies in China like EHang, they're doing hundreds of commercial flights each day. So this is happening today. The hurdle we have here in the Middle East, in Europe, and the States is one of certification. But all of the authorities are behind this new sector. The governments want it to happen. We need to decarbonize aviation. So, yeah, this is real.
Well, I think even here at MEBAA, we saw the GCAA, the regulator for the United Arab Emirates, making a very strong point that actually we've been waiting for people to do things and they're not daring enough. We need to be daring and make it happen. I think they've agreed certification ideas for vertiports and are anxious to get people to do it. So why then are we not seeing more of this? You know, certification, it looks like regulators want it, or are they only saying they do?
Aviation is a safe industry, and you have to keep it safe, so things have to be done methodically. Every part of an aircraft is got to be tested so much more than the electric cars, which we've seen take over. I mean, it's an incredible growth of electric vehicles, which I'm sure everybody is seeing. So yeah, with safety standards in aviation, it has to be done at the correct pace.
And how much do you? I mean, you're a pilot from the Air Force as well, I think. So you've flown lots of different aircraft, I guess.
I burnt a lot of fuel.
Well, yeah. Thankfully, you didn't burn up the things as they fell out of the sky as well, which, you know, is still a kind of risk, isn't it, on this sort of thing? Public perception. You've had customers coming in chartering your private jets when you're in that business. Are we confident that, okay, the aircraft might be ready for 2026. Are we confident people are going to get into them?
So obviously, when we announced this in June, and Dubai was going gaga over it. So what will be the price of air taxis? So that perception, you know, we have to control the public expectations. This has to be done in phased manner. This has to be done so that the society, the public is able to accept these concepts. So what we are saying is in 2026, this will be flown by a pilot or an operator into safe areas which are not populated and certified by EASA and FAA. And once we go in that direction slowly, then we'll go to other areas where they'll go to airports and area. So the expectations have to be controlled. We have to do it in a phased manner, and public perception has to be, they have to accept this, things flying overhead in many numbers. So I think the corridors should exist initially, where this will fly initially, not crisscrossing the cities left, right, and center. And then as we progress further, we'll find more solutions.
James?
I mean, just to jump in, I think that we're actually geographically placed really well, because the appetite for innovation and change within the UAE is so great that if and when this does happen, I wouldn't be surprised if Dubai and the UAE are at the tip of the spear. And then once that happens and the world takes notice of actual movement, pun intended, the rest of the world will start to follow. And then events like this will take on a greater significance and a greater volume, because people will want to come and see the model that the UAE has developed in order to make this vision a reality.
So last 3 months, I have been approached. Of course, GCA is totally supporting us. We had GCA saying that the Brazilian ENAC, who is going to first certify it under FAA umbrella, they're saying as long ENAC certifies it, GCA will certify it. So they're trying to promote this, that GCA should be first one to support this. Abu Dhabi airports and Dubai airports are working with us to create airspaces for this. RTA is having a meeting with us to create vertiports for this. So he's saying there's an interest in this part in every direction to let it come.
What's very interesting about public perception is having ambassadors, and ambassadors will come on board because of the user experience of flying on these aircraft. When we look at other applications which have rapidly come into force, like Uber or Airbnb, it's that user experience which gets everybody behind the new platforms. Now, flying on a helicopter with Falcon Aviation is a very special event here in Dubai. But when a passenger flies on one of these electric aircraft, it's going to be entirely different. It's not going to be noisy. It's going to be almost quiet, like getting into an electric vehicle for the first time. It will be smooth. The vibrations that we know from helicopters will be gone. And on still weather days, you will get this experience of floating on air. The windows on these aircraft are incredibly large, so the views are going to be outstanding. It's going to be a major experience, and one that will leave the passengers talking about it at every opportunity, showing their pictures. I mean, I imagine that one problem you'll have as an operator is getting passengers away from the aircraft afterwards. They're going to be doing so many Instagram photo shoots in front of these aircraft.
Yes.
So, public perception, yes, we have to get the locals on side who are next to the vertiports, and the noise reduction will be a significant improvement. The noise of a helicopter is relative to the wing speed, the wingtip speed. With distributed rotors, they're much smaller, they don't rotate as fast, so it'll be a lot quieter, so it won't be so much disturbance on the ground. But once those neighbors have started flying in these aircraft themselves, they'll be over the moon to see them flying around their local urban and regional environments, I'm sure.
I hope so. I mean, that sounds very encouraging, although I do wonder the public sometimes are very different from how we think they're going to be and how they get it. I mean, you talked about Abu Dhabi Airport, Dubai Airport buying into it, and, let's hope they do. If the air swarm, the air is a black swarm like it was going to be, if you remember when we first got personal jets coming in to the market, in the eclipse and things were happening. It never worked, but the fear was that things are going to be whizzing around our heads and things do fall out of the sky, no matter how well the certification goes. Do you think it's going to go further than airport to airport then, that we will be coming off of buildings, off of parks? How do you see this future, and when do you really think that future is going to happen? I'm going to go through just generally your views on this, Robert.
I mean, this is what the market requires, what the people require, and this is the direction that we are going through. We saw all the innovations in the past years. The UAE is a great hub for innovations like that. Not only with these vehicles, but also with other things like the cryptocurrency market, all the blockchain technology, which is centralized here in the UAE, especially in Dubai. And I think this is when we talk about these vehicles, what the passengers really want. So I think sooner or later we will have that kind of Uber way of flying those aircraft, for sure.
So there are two segments, So one is EV and eVTOL. No, there are, say, 1 billion cars were there in the world in 2010, and they became 1.5 billion. And maybe only 2 million EVs are available today. So I'm saying that's one market which is urban air mobility, which combines vertiports like Uber. This is one concept. So that gives you another dimensions, because EVs require roads, and Elon Musk is against this because he wants more tunnels. But the tunnels could be expensive. So if you add city transportation with corridors, which combines place A to place B effectively. And the fact is today, a car's kilowatt hour per passenger per mile is around, say, 250. With this concepts, with better battery density, you can bring it down to half that value. So therefore, the concept can survive provided it's cost effective. Second market is longer distances between cities. So there is a market for various size and segments. Remember, there are more than 2.5 billion cars and transports. So even we take 1% of that, there is enough market.
I just wanted to say, the future isn't a predefined time. It's almost a concept. And so when we're talking about delivering plans for the future, every single decision that we make in this sphere is the future. We're kind of caught up on the fact that the future is a predefined term right down there, and we can see it. But it's not. Everything in this market, the EV developments, when you have the way to measure it is to look back and to see where we were 10 years ago, and to see the development of batteries and the length and the charging time and the safety. And then you can measure where we are, because that's the only way you can. You can't, we'll continue to make forward progress. And only when we've looked back to now, to today, in 10 years will we see the actual physical process that we've made, the progress that we've made. And you've got to also consider, like from a regulatory point of view, the European Union putting in all these sorts of regulations by 2030 and 2050 about sustainable fuel. Now, I know we're talking about EVs, but the principle of regulation is the same. Like, we're ready to make this vision happen, but the regulation needs to be there to support it, like in a concrete manner where we can just know exactly where we exist and how to exist within that sphere.
eVTOLs are going to have many applications, and there are going to be benefits to people across our communities. From medical services, these aircraft are going to be incredibly agile, very maneuverable, with less downwash than helicopters, being able to land in really tight spaces where helicopters couldn't get in. So we're going to see medical services, our firemen getting to access to tops of buildings, our police getting to scenes, incidents really quickly. Search and rescue, we're already seeing search and rescue being enhanced by the use of drones, and this is just the next step. And then we come into the urban environment for taking people from here to downtown Dubai or to the main airport. We're going to see remote communities really benefit from these aircraft. I have a holiday house on the west coast of Scotland, one of a small Scottish island, and the communities there are really hampered by the ferry service and by the weekly airline service. These are expensive operations for governments to support through their government initiatives. These aircraft are going to really enhance the communities of remote island communities as well. So there's a wide list of benefits right across communities. And again, all of the people who benefit, whether it be somebody whose relative has had an organ delivered, vital organ transportation at night, for example, right up to the high net worth who's using it to connect with their G650. So across the spectrum, the population will benefit from eVTOLs, and that will all help public perception.
I love the vision. I think it sounds great. Do you see it as an unmanned, unpersoned, non-piloted vision?
Uncrewed.
Uncrewed. I knew there was a term that I could use without getting abused, but do you see that as actually coming? I know in the longer term we should. In the short term, still there?
At Flexjet, we're going to have a pilot for the foreseeable future. At Flexjet, our crews are very much part of the customer experience that our owners enjoy. Other use cases will be eliminating the pilot much quicker. And in the future, for sure, much of the role of the pilot will be replaced firstly by a pilot on the ground. And I think we have to have the concept that pilots don't necessarily have to be in the air. They can be in an operations center. In fact, you can have multiple pilots on the ground looking after your flight. and then eventually automation, artificial intelligence will come in. But first of all, these aircraft have got to be good co-pilots. They've got to prove themselves as single pilot operations, with the machine itself enhancing the pilot's awareness, situation awareness.
Let's go. You're at your remote holiday home on your island and you fancy fish and chips coming from Dundee or something. Do you see yourself paying whatever it's going to cost for a piloted Flexjet Eve to pop over, pick you up, nip out and get your fish and chips?
Well, I think before fish and chips, we've already seen the use of drones during COVID on the Isle of Mull in Scotland to get vital test samples back to the mainland. Drugs to the island communities. So I think before fish and chips, it's going to be medical, Amazon deliveries.
Absolutely.
But yeah, why not?
And I see that. Where I
for
get concerned about this, Adam, is when we talk about the piloted stage. Aren't we really talking about a better technology helicopter in most cases? Because a lot of the roles you see for these are things that helicopters can actually do. They can land on top of buildings. They can pick you up somewhere and take you from your island to a mainland. They can deliver organs. And they cost a fortune compared to a motorbike that's taken the organ somewhere. So are we seeing price as a barrier to technology coming in? Or do you think we are going to democratize the thing so it becomes
the helicopter
affordable?
inherently was not a efficient way of transportation. It's been very expensive. Cost of helicopter ownerships have gone with years a lot. I will again reiterate, is the cost benefit which these machines will offer. That's why it'll survive. Okay, one of the cost of helicopter flying is pilot, is salary. So in future, I'm not talking about 5, 10, 15 years, if you take that element out, and those guys are on ground controlling multiple machines, then the cost is again becomes a benefit. Okay, now, first of all, world has to accept driverless cars. Today, driverless cars are a hurdle because they are driven cars which are a problem. Driverless cars, technology exists for them to go from place A to B. It's the driven cars which are a problem for them. In this, it could be perhaps easier if all the eVTOLs are not flown by anybody but controlled from ground. So this technology is already existing in EVs. They will come slowly, but once that is there, this will be easier. And again, say the cost benefits will be, in many ways, allow this to become for a common use. Today, helicopter usage is only for high network people, No, it's not a common person. Okay, we do touring flights for 500 to 800 dirhams. That's 15 minutes. For place A to place B, helicopter is very, very inefficient and expensive way. This can improve that.
I'm just wondering how the passengers react on that. I mean, it's a matter of safety and comfort and so on. So if you have passengers on board and there is a pilot, at least that is just controlling somehow what the vehicle does, gives some confidence that you safely come from A to B. But I have no experience with that. What is your experience with passengers?
So I've been test pilot earlier, and I've been piloting the present helicopters I pilot. I demonstrate to everyone that I am just a button pusher. I take off button pushing, aircraft takes off on its own, it cruises, it comes in the helicopter, does a ILS and press button, it comes to over on its own. So technology is existing. You think pilot is a genius? Perhaps not, because technology is there. Okay, being a pilot, I'm not undermining pilot's job here, but you must accept today that technology is far superior than the human beings. And this must be accepted by us, and this will come in big way.
I love the idea, actually, that you would still have a pilot and a dog. Have you,
Yes.
are you aware of that one, that the pilot is just there to monitor and the dog's there to bite the pilot if he tries to touch anything? So
Yes, you heard that.
That could work, couldn't it? I mean, that sounds fine to me. But do we think we are going to get that price right? Are we going to get the price to democratize it compared to getting into your electric car and going somewhere?
You reflected earlier about the introduction of the very light jet and the price drop. Yes, we did see in the charter market prices coming down with the introduction of very light jets, but it wasn't the big drop that people were expecting. Now, part of that was the landing fees and the handling fees that are being charged per cycle of the aircraft. At the moment, when we land at Heathrow, for example, it's £5,000 that we're paying or higher for one helicopter landing. Now, clearly, it doesn't matter how cheap the operation of the eVTOL are. If Heathrow is going to charge us in excess of £5,000, this is not going to be the price of an Uber Black. However, when these aircraft are accepted, there are going to be more vertiports opening up, and the cost will come down. The cost of energy is going to be almost insignificant compared with the cost of oil. The maintenance cost is going to be significantly less, and that's been proven throughout the introduction of electrification on trains and now in cars. So yes, these are still expensive machines to purchase, but the operations, the maintenance will push the price down. We need the ground infrastructure to do that also.
Yeah. Now, can I say, I live in a country where there seems to be a policy of let's get rid of small airfields, places where you can land cheaply, and let's put more housing stock or warehouses on there. We see projects like the Faraday one, for example, with a 19-seat hybrid electric aircraft that can actually fly from small airfield to small airfield. There's nowhere going to be left to land. So infrastructure could actually be a real barrier again, couldn't it, to make not perhaps so much the inner urban challenge where we do have rooftops in high-story buildings. But what about the town to town, village to village, the commute in, those kind of things? How do we manage that infrastructure?
Of course, so infrastructure already, the road transportation overcame it by making highways. They cost a lot of money. So you have to compete with the highways, you have to make it. So these are airways, So airways don't cost you anything. This is the third dimension. It's only the vertiports. So vertiports, we operate heliports here, about 5 main heliports in UAE. They don't cost you too much. You just require minimum manpower to manage those heliports. Well, if I'm charging somebody too much of money, that could be for a different reason. But actually, this is not a huge infrastructure we're talking of.
I think you're right about protecting these local airfields. They're going to be very valuable in the future of aviation. Aviation is very young. Yeah. We're only, just crossed over 100 years of commercial flying. What's it going to look like in another 100 years? So, yeah, we want to protect those local airfields, which might be absolutely vital in the future of aviation.
Okay. James.
Just to kind of maybe finish off this point, aviation is extremely adaptive. There's never been a period of time where aviation hasn't had to respond to something. You've got COVID and everything in recent times. There's always something that affects aviation, and it has to adapt, and it always does so really, really quickly. So with the evolution of flight moving towards EVs, the industry will adapt because it doesn't know how not to. It's always in a state of examination of where we're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, and what we're going to do to cope with that adaptation. So I'm not particularly worried. I wouldn't be worried that there might not be the visible infrastructure, because the business that we're in forces us to be adaptable, and we have to be ready for any unexpected changes, which we always are. So the expected changes, which we're looking at now, will be relatively easy to assimilate into current practices.
I want to move on to what probably be our final point now, because one of the great things we found with development, digitalization on the things we're doing, will be in the booking area, and that, I know Robert is coming into your side there. If I want to get an Uber, it's dead easy. I can just get on my phone and there'll be one here in 10 minutes. Now, companies like yours, and I, you said in your introduction, the only one doing this. I've seen, this is where I was going to crack a deja vu joke, but I've seen so many people in the past coming up with, this is going to be the platform that's going to make getting a hold of business aircraft working very well. We can link into a charter company. We can get you a price. I've tried booking them, and you get to think, yeah, okay, we'll phone you back.
Yeah.
Now, the last thing I want from a taxi driver is I'll phone you back and try and sound out, how much you can afford to pay me, and then we'll do it. So your platform, you want to get this technology so it can actually work and put people together, and we don't have to deal with salesmen.
I think the big problem that we have is booking an airline ticket or booking a scheduled flight is easy because you know where the aircraft will be in the future. You have a schedule that the aircraft follows. But with private jets or other vehicles that are not scheduled on a regular basis, that change like taxis do on ground, you need to implement certain technologies to calculate the prices properly. There is a lot of B2C solutions out there for bookings with various aircraft by end clients, but there is always a company in the background. There is always somehow a broker who then takes the phone or writes an email, searches for proper connections at certain prices, and then offers that to the clients. So digitalization and automatization is really something that we need to improve. Nothing significant has happened the last, I would say, 15-20 years. So what we do differently is we do not only calculate the flight. We already consider all the logistical, tactical, strategical planning that an operator has to do, and I think. All of that starts with the booking. So if you have the possibility to digitalize and automate bookings with unscheduled aircraft, whatever this is, then you can connect to the end clients with various solutions. And this is what we do. We have no intention right now to make a B2C solution. We won't be the Uber for business aviation, but we want to be a company that provides data, like all these GDSs out there for airlines, to provide the data and the booking information that we have and the possibility to instantly book an aircraft to end clients.
Last word, Adam.
Advanced air mobility is a great story for computer science graduates. Already, airlines spend 5% of their budgets on IT and software. And this is airlines who know it well in advance, years in advance, where their schedules are going. These machines are much more complex and much more agile. For example, the batteries. The batteries, you have to monitor, you have to look after them. You can't charge them to 100% all of the time when you can, you go up to 80% if that's all you require. Otherwise, the life of that battery is going to come down. The booking, the interaction, not just with your customer, but your customer is going to go on to an airline. Your customer is going to go on to an Uber. So all of these applications will have to be linked to get the seamless journey. So yes, it's a great news story for anybody who's a computer science graduate at the moment, because advanced air mobility needs you.
Well, there we are. Advanced air mobility really is going to happen. Great technology. Thank you for being with us. Bye.
Thank you.